Hi everyone, this is Sarah and I'm on the second day of my 30 days challenge. And to be totally honest with you, it's not really been smooth lately. My sleep schedule is absolutely suffering and I don't know where my time goes. It's like when you're trying to get something done, time just speeds up. It's as if time is trying to pull a prank on you. But now that I'm taking character design more seriously, I feel like I am improving my skills much more. And that is the whole purpose of this series. I am doing this because I want to expand my skills. It's not about getting a certain job, getting hired at a company as a character designer, but I made that rule to make it hard for myself to actually amp up the skills so that I can match that level. The sole purpose of my video is not to get that job, but to get the offer. You know what I mean? It's like I want to get the offer so that it affirms my skills are at that level. And now that I'm putting myself into this situation of trying to practice different poses of each character and try to, practice so many things, it's like I thought that I knew, but now that I'm doing it, I know that I don't know so much. The amount of knowledges that exist in this world that I don't have any idea that they exist is like never ending. It's like the more you know, the more you don't know. I know that sounds a little bit cliche, but it's just because it's true. And that's exactly what happens with art. If you look back at your drawings, for example, 2 years ago, you can see that it's full of flaws. Or maybe you're so professional that 2 years ago you've been actually drawing professionally. I don't know who you are, but no matter who you are, if you look back at your drawings when you were drawing so badly, you thought that you were drawing good, but you didn't have the knowledge to even notice your flaws. So you didn't know and you thought that you knew, and that was the reason that you didn't notice the flaws of that drawing in that period of time. So the question is, what can you do to avoid these blind spots? And you might be thinking to yourself that it's never going to vanish. You're never going to be able to get rid of it because there's always a higher step ahead of you. But I think that by practicing and by studying other artists' work, you're going to be able to avoid these mistakes. And when I say study other artists' work, you have to know how they see. So an artist doesn't really look at everything and, sees the same thing that an ordinary person sees. An ideal artist would see the reality through shapes. So I'm not even joking. They have developed a keen sense for defining what it is that they're looking at. They don't just assume that it is, for example, it is just an apple. And one thing that we have to realize is that we don't see with our eyes, we see with our minds. And that's strange, but it's real. And the way we train our mind is to pay more attention and to see the reality for what it is and not just assume it. But that's what our mind does to make it simpler. So as you might have noticed in my character designs, I am not coming up with a whole thing on spot. I am trying to draw the character in one perspective and add features to that character and trying to come up with ideas as to what sort of detail I want to add to that personality. For example, this personality that I'm trying to depict here is much more like a very bookish, very intellectual personality that I want to draw. And it's not apparent to me on spot, like I don't come up with it in my imaginations. I just draw something on paper and try to add more and more things to it. So I figure it out as I go along. It's not that quick to come by. It takes time. And also when you're trying to figure out what sort of color you want to choose for this character, you have to choose the right color for that character so that it's fitting to the character's personality. And it's something that that character, that sort of personality would choose to wear. And that's not easy. You have to try a lot of colors. Those colors should be matching each other, so it has to have some contrast. Otherwise, your character is bland and it doesn't have an interesting look because colors are really close to each other and there's no conflict between them, which makes it colorless in a way, because colors are much more vibrant when they're sitting next to their opposite. And it takes time and practice to get better at coloring. But one thing that I mentioned even before in the previous video is that you need to look at whatever you love when you're looking at a picture, at a cinematic scene. Define what sort of color is gravitating you toward itself. It's like, what is it that you love about that scene? What color? How those color combinations are alluring you into looking into them. And as artists, we have to define that in order to be able to employ them in our own art as well. So if you're interested in a movie, you can study every scene of that movie and try to draw it in your style and try to add colors that you love in that specific scene. And that's how you hit two birds with one stone. It's like you're adding to your observation skills and at the same time you're watching that movie and enjoying it. Something else that I do that really affects my drawing overall is hand lettering. Like I try to write something as if I am drawing. It was a little bit shocking to me that writing something and trying to write it well and pay attention to the lines would actually just improve my drawing. The reason for that is that it works on your motor skills. It's improving your hand movement and now your lines are much more stable and that makes it easier for you to draw. So when I first started drawing digitally, it was so freaking hard for me to even move my hand on the screen because it felt weird. It felt like I was trying to drink water with a fork. It felt impossible to get used to it. But now you can see that I am really used to it and I don't even care about the differences between paper and the screen. And that's what I think is gonna happen in this process of me challenging myself for 30 days. I think I'm gonna be used to the whole process of making these videos and making these drawings and trying to improve upon it. Once you put this system in place, everything else is just gonna fall into that place and you don't need to do anything. It's like the system itself is just carrying you. It's like your boss or something like that. I would say that your habits are your boss, and that's perfectly true for me. I mean, like whenever I have a certain habit, it just drives me. I am not driving myself. The habit itself is driving me, and that's what I think it's gonna become. But I feel so sleepy right now. It's been such a long time since I last hit the bed, and I'm not saying this to tell you that I'm actually going to quit or something like that. No, quitting is not gonna be an option because I promised myself that I'm gonna go through this 30 days and I'm gonna go through this 30 days, and that's it. I'm not gonna break the promise. It's not even the promise to myself, it's like also the promise that I made to my audience, which is you guys. It's like I appreciate all of you and I don't want to disappoint you. So with that being said, let's just say tomorrow is gonna be a better day and I'm gonna be much more energized because today was a little bit, I was feeling not quite sure as to where I'm gonna go. And that's the ups and downs of every journey. So I'm not expecting it to feel good all the time. I'm not expecting that I will have ideas all the time. I will be creative all the time. Of course, that's never gonna be possible. Even when you're not putting yourself through a challenge, you're not always inspired. Like you might be inspired at one time and maybe the day after you don't even know what to do with your day. And that's the struggle that we always are going to face. It's part of the game and I'm accepting it, and I'm hoping that tomorrow I'm gonna have better ideas. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I can see you tomorrow. Have a good day and stay creative.